I love you, oh loves. Do you have thoughts? Do you wanna share them with me? I love you, oh loves. Oh, do you have thoughts? I'd like to share mine with you. Can we share like lovers do? Underneath the painted blue moon, oh loves, do you have thoughts? And do you want to share with me? Share with me too. I love you, oh loves. Do you have thoughts? And do you wanna share them with me? 'Cause I've got dreams to share with you. Come and let's share some fantasies. I love you, oh loves. Do you have thoughts? And do you wanna share them with me? I love you, oh loves. Do you have thoughts? I wanna share mine with you. Please share me with you too. I wanna be with you. I love you, oh loves. Night after our last night, I seen you best time yet. You stood in the sun. I knew you were my woman. When I dreamed that night, I held you oh so tight. Your arms held me like the blankets I ever knew. When I was up, baby, you wrapped in my mom's arms, and every night all I did was dream of you. And now you know, 'cause you seen me too well. You wanna go and share your whole life and dreams with me too. Oh loves, do you have thoughts? And do you wanna share with me too? Do you, and oh loves, do you have thoughts? I know I do. Come and share. Can you come and be with me too? I wanna share them with you. Oh loves, ooh, share with me too.
Hey, Chris Liepe here, helping you work on your voice, your guitar playing, your musical ear. And in this video, I want to address a question that I get a lot. How do I develop endurance with my singing voice? Or the similar question would be, why do I get tired so quickly when I try to sing? And how can I get over that hump so that I can sing as long as I want to without destroying my voice or without feeling really tired? Now, I have to start out by saying that the voice is made up of a lot of different muscles, and all those muscles working together are led by your mind. So there's a lot of different components coming together and doing very specific things to generate the sound that we hear that happens with our voice. So there's not a simple light switch approach, well, I am tired and flip the switch and now I'm not tired after I sing for a while. Developing endurance with your voice is very similar to developing endurance or developing strength when it comes to exercising, because we're using muscles, we're using our mind. It's the same sort of thing, except there's this added component that we're making music with it, and there's also sorts of emotions and feelings associated with what we're doing with our voice. So if you're trying to develop endurance and sing for longer periods of time, or you're trying to even sing at all and not feel tired or hoarse afterward, you have to understand that it's a process. It's a longer-term commitment that you have to be ready to make. And if you're towards the beginning of your journey with wanting to sing, I strongly encourage you to join my Free Your Voice course that's free by clicking the link below. And this is going to help you get started off on the right foot when it comes to basic singing mechanics, when it comes to feeling which muscles we should be engaging and how to engage those muscles. Because if you're engaging your muscles incorrectly and trying to develop endurance, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to get tired, and you're going to continue to get tired simply because you're just singing incorrectly and you're not using the muscles in the way that they were designed to be used for singing. So do yourself a favor and get things set up so that you can sing correctly first, and then what we're doing in this video is going to help immensely. So as I said earlier, developing endurance with your singing voice is very much like regular old exercise. If you're going to train to run a marathon, you want to develop exercises and routines that help you train up to that 27 or so miles. Anybody who's training for a marathon will tell you that they don't go out and run 27 miles a day to train for their marathon. They are starting with very short exercise routines and then gradually working up to being able to run that distance. Same with other forms of exercise like strength training. If you're wanting to get stronger to play basketball, for example, and you develop a weight routine, you're not doing the exact same things that you are doing in basketball to strengthen your body. You have a set of exercises. You have a routine that builds overall strength so that you can go out and execute with basketball. Now, I'm going to say this, and if you've been watching this channel, you already know this about me. I hate exercises when it comes to singing. Those traditional exercises that I was taught in traditional voice lessons never worked for me. They introduced tension. They made me feel insecure about my voice. So when I'm training, when I'm conditioning my voice to be able to sing for long periods of time and developing endurance, the things that I do, while you could still classify them as exercises, I consider them to be, we'll call them musical snippets that help me train. So what I'm going to introduce to you today is one of the ways that I have been able to condition my voice to last longer. I've been able to develop endurance as well as improve my articulation and range and pretty much everything about my voice by taking this approach to practicing. And I'm not going to call it an exercise. I'm going to call it a mini song or a song snippet. I always try to be musical in everything that I practice, particularly with my voice. I want to be able to sing for longer periods of time. The irony of this whole thing is I actually want to practice this type of thing for a very short period of time, but I want to do it regularly. Every day for 5 minutes is a great way to start doing this sort of thing. You don't want to go longer because you want to gradually build strength. Just like with weight training or running, you start small and you do it frequently, and our body responds. Here's the melody. Oh. I'm starting in E. Start in the middle of your range. Not oh. We don't want to start all the way down there. Oh. Now, I like to immediately find a word that makes it feel more musical to me and then assign rhythm with my guitar. You don't have to use your guitar. You could use a piano and get your pitch. I like to use a guitar because I like to strum along and do this in a way that I can connect to my instrument. Oh. Now I'm gonna use a word now. I'm gonna use the word fly. Fly, which has the underlying vowel on the sustaining portion of ah, right? Fly. Then I'm transitioning to the E vowel. It's more real world. It helps me warm up in a way that is less concerned about pronouncing a vowel right or whatever, and more concerned about just singing. Fly. Fly. Go up. Fly. Switch up my word. Grow. Grow. Now, you want to go up from the middle of your range until you feel like you are starting to get to that point where if you went any more, you would be straining. Now, there's all sorts of ways to take this exact same exercise and use it as a way to practice expanding your range. We're not going to do that right now. We want to go up to where we're starting to get uncomfortable, and then we want to work back down to our middle of our range where we started, and then start going just a little bit lower. And then you want to do the same thing in the other direction, all for about 5 minutes a day. Doing a melody like this, it's a bit of a rangy melody where we're not just singing a scale, da 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 da. You know, we're not doing that. La 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 la. There's some jumps, there's some incremental things, so it works portions of your range at a time, and then you're going up or down and working a slightly different portion. So this little melody is really handy. It's a great way to work on vocal endurance, but here's the key. We're working on vocal endurance, so we're working in the comfortable middle of our range. Not too low, not too high. If we start going too low and too high within this context, we will start to introduce unconscious tension because we're trying to shoot for notes or we're trying to, practice going lower or whatever. We don't want to do that. We want to work comfortably here because we are training our muscles gradually in our voice to go tension-free for longer periods of time. So we want to be in that groove. We want to be in that vibe. If you push too low or too high, you cheat yourself out of the opportunity to exercise your muscles in the comfortable range, in the comfortable way that they need to be existing over longer periods of time. So pick a handful of words, take this melody, oh, get into a musical vibe, and work the middle area of your range for 5 minutes a day in your chest resonance voice. We don't, for this particular thing, for endurance training, this is where we want to start. We don't want to be up. We don't want to be down. We want to be right in the middle. And we want to be going back and forth. You might go up and down a number of times within your 5 minutes. Once you feel like you've done that daily for quite a while, you can push it up to 10 minutes a day, depending on what else you're doing with your voice. And that gets into vocal budgeting and all sorts of other things that are really beyond the scope of what we're doing right here. But again, I encourage you to join my free vocal course if you're interested in taking your voice to another level. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you like what I'm teaching here, and be sure to leave your questions and comments below. See you for more. Chris Liepe here. I want to address a way of thinking and a way of describing singing that is working against a lot of vocalists. You've heard me speak a little bit about this with pepperings of comments and other videos on this channel, but I hear enough people say this and see enough wrong happening because of it that I felt it warranted a dedicated video. How many of you have either been told or told yourself, I sound too nasal? I don't like that nasal sound. I've gotten emails from people saying that someone in their family or one of their friends heard them sing and said, you sound too nasal, you should fix that. This is a dangerous thing to say and a dangerous thing to act upon. If anybody is telling you that you sound too nasal, they don't know what they're talking about. If you are attributing some quality in your voice to being too nasal, you don't know what you're talking about. And you are setting yourself on a path for limiting your potential as a vocalist severely and possibly causing yourself to get into some habits that could cause damage later. So hear me out in this video. I'm going to show you how nasal, using your nasal passages when you sing, is actually one of the best things you can do for your singing voice. Then we start to think, oh, nasal is the problem. Nasal's not the problem. Airflow is the problem. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to cover the very tip of the iceberg on the potential we have for truly understanding how sound passes through our face in this video. If you want to take this stuff deeper, if you want to dial in your own voice and discover what it can really do, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. Okay, so nasal. Almost 100% of the time, when someone says something along the lines of this person sounds too nasal or you sound too nasal, they're making an accusation. They're actually not hearing the problem correctly. They might hear a lack of support. They might hear potentially poor placement of one's voice. But if your voice is placed correctly, and if you are using the proper support, you're going to be making use very efficiently and very prominently of your nasal cavity, and it's going to sound better. What ends up happening is we internalize this phrase, he sounds too nasal, and then we work against a good voice because we end up consciously shutting off our nasal cavity while we sing. And I'm going to demonstrate some things in a moment that don't sound good, that end up happening when people go, oh, I sound too nasal. I better not sing through my nose. I better shut off that area so that I sound better and so that people stop saying that I sound nasal. I don't want to sound nasal. Nasal is bad. Nasal is good. You've also likely heard it said that forward singing or forward placement is really good. It's a good attribute of singing. What's ironic about this is that in order to have forward placement as a vocalist, and I'm going to unpack that phrase a bit more in this lesson as well, you have to be using your nasal cavity in order to do that. So the same people or critics or people who don't know what they're talking about who are saying, you sound too nasal, are also probably agreeing, whether they know it or not, that they like the sound of forward placement in singers. All the singers that you and I have grown into loving over the years, and certainly many of the ones that I've covered on this channel so far, have a very masterful command of how to use their nasal passage for forward placement, for tapping into mixed voice, for increasing their range, for getting a good resonant sound. Your nasal passage is a way to improve resonance in any of your registers. So let's discover how cool nasal singing can be. Let's start by working with the word run. Now, I want you to be attentive to what's happening to your nasal cavity when you say the word run, run. In order to properly say that word, run, run, there is a lot of air going through your nose. It's going up this way and out your nose. Run. If I were to consciously plug that up like this, run, I could not say the N, and the well, let's start with the R. So here's my R through my nose, allowing air passage through my nose. Here it is without it. Without. There it is with. Air through my nasal passage. Air not through my nasal passage. Now, let's go to that's nasal passage open. Closed. Open. Closed. And then, of course, nasal passage open, closed. Now, in each of those examples, what I feel and hear, and hopefully you're hearing it through the mic too, is that when I shut off my nasal passage, my voice retreats into my body, namely the back of my throat. I stop feeling the resonance in my face, and I feel it in the back. I feel it here. Here is where we store most of our tension unconsciously when we try to sing. And so if we are cutting off this resonant area as we sing or speak, if we're cutting that off, we are focusing on the fact that we are generating our sound from here, and then it stops from here, and then the sound that we are making is not projected out our face, and we don't get the power or the presence that we want to get. And so when people start saying, or when you start saying, I sound too nasal, they end up making their voice retreat into their body. They lose resonance, they lose power, and they lose presence. So let's say this word and focus. Instead of doing this, I don't want to sound nasal, we're actually going to make it sound more nasal. And we're going to place this word, the whole of the word, in our face. We're going to feel it here. We're going to feel it coming out our nose. We're going to place our voice forward. And we're going to sing a note. Start with R. Feel it coming through your nose. You should feel it vibrating here. Try it in various places with various types of notes, and you can grit it up, you can clean it up, you can sing in your head voice, your deeper voice, your chesty voice. Do it all over the place, but focus it here. Make it go through your nose. Run, run, run. Now, let me give you some examples in singing notes of it closed versus open. Nasal passage closed versus nasal passage open. Run, 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 run. I think you can hear the difference. Run, run, run. So let me demonstrate a few incidences of intentionally going nasal and then intentionally moderating the airflow through the nasal cavity. So bringing it back or choosing not to go through this area for certain effects, but then bringing it back into the nasal area to create a cool sound. Run, 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 run. I'm going to go to the word free. Now I want you to do this. I want you to say the word free, free. And I want you to practice turning off and turning on your nasal passage. Free. Exaggerate it so that you get that feeling. Free. Free. Now you're going to notice that when you turn that on and off, your tendency is going to be to drop your larynx when you're shutting it off. Free. And raising it when you turn it on. That's normal, but you don't have to do that. You can leave your larynx in the same place. Free. And have the nasal passage turn on and off. And it's important to be able to do that and to recognize it. Now, there are instances where the nasal can work against you. The nasal sound can work against you. Let's say it that way. But most of the time, you are feeling a bad nasal sound. It's because you're not supporting it right, and you're actually letting too much air through unconsciously. Let me explain this a little bit. It has a little bit to do with compression singing. So if I'm singing this note, free, That's not a great quality for a note. Free. But I think if I deconstruct that note and how I'm singing it, free, it would sound better probably like this. Free. My nasal passage is still open there. But when I'm doing this, free, free, I'm actually letting whisper sound through my vocal cords. Free, free, free. And you can do that whether you're opening your nasal passage or not. Free, 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 free. Notice I'm letting air through my vocal cords as well as the note. Now, if you watch my Miles Kennedy video, he's very good at doing this strategically. This is also another great singing technique. But sometimes we let these things happen unconsciously. We're letting too much air through. We're not using the proper amount, or we're not using compression the right way. Watch my video on compression if you need more on this. But what ends up happening is we sing like this. Free, 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 free. And then we start to think, oh, nasal is the problem. Nasal's not the problem. Airflow is the problem. Airflow is the problem. Make sure that you understand that. Proper airflow is going to help you sound confident and forward with good nasal placement. Free, 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 free. Let's be conscious about what we're doing. Let's add some compression and support. Free. Keep our nasal passage open. Free, free, free. Run, free. Run, free. Whoa, run, free. Yeah. Won't you run? Free. Now, those of you who've been keeping up with the channel for a while know that I like to put myself in a musical environment and apply this stuff in a way that helps me sink into a real musical application and not just making noise. It's great to start with making noise and exaggerate some of those noises to discover things about our voice, but let's take it to some music. So I have this simple revolving synth pad pulled up. And I'm gonna put the headphones on, I'm gonna listen to it, I'm gonna sink into it, and I'm gonna focus on singing forward, using my nasal passage to create full sounding resonant sounds. And I'm gonna use those two words, run and free, to do this. And I'll demonstrate it both ways. See if you can hear the difference. nice wide open nasal. Run, closed. Run, open. I'm running free. Run, 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 run free. Run, run, run. The bottom line is, having the ability to consciously manage, particularly your nasal placement, will provide more room for air to flow out the right places and allow you to utilize the power you're giving yourself with properly dialed in support. It'll allow you to utilize that in a better way, in a more efficient way. Again, if you want more help dialing in your voice, discovering what it can really do, join my free vocal course linked below. Be sure to leave comments here. Let me know what you think. This is a controversial topic, and I'd love to get a discussion going in the comments about it. We'll see you for more. Liepe here, helping you become a more comfortable and confident and powerful singer. And in this video, we're talking about how to develop power across your whole range. A lot of singers come to me and they tell me that they feel like, especially when they start to sing louder, that they feel it in their neck. They feel tense. They don't know exactly where their power is supposed to be coming from. Even after taking voice lessons, even after watching other YouTube videos, they haven't figured out where their power is supposed to come from. And I'm talking about real confident power. I can only hope. I can only hope. I can only hope. I can only hope. So in order to help you discover where your power should be coming from, it's helpful to do what I'm about to do standing up. You can do it sitting down once you've gotten the feel, totally fine. But standing up and being able to move up and down and do some things helps you with discovering how your muscles are supposed to work. So there's no way that you can actually get the power that you just heard me sing with if you've got tension in the neck, if you've got things that are kind of holding you up, and if you're just forcing it. You're going to run out of juice with your voice so fast if you try to sing that loud and you don't have things dialed in with your support muscles. So where are these support muscles and how do we engage them? Well, with a lot of other as with a lot of other things on this channel, I like to go to non-singing activities in order to help you discover how you can use certain muscles for singing activities. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little mini squat like that. And you don't want to do this, not like this. You want to keep your back straight and you want to stick your butt out and back. Like that. You feel that energy in your legs, your upper legs, your thighs, your quads. You feel that energy there, but you also feel a bit of it in your butt. Now what I want you to do is I want you to go down and squat just a little bit more, and at the same time, I want you to act like you are going to poop. I know that sounds weird, but, make sure you don't actually have to go. But bend down and bear down as if you're pushing something out. That feeling of pushing something out is the feeling. Those muscles are what you want to engage when you are engaging your support muscles for your voice. I know this sounds strange, but it's true. Let's go ahead and squat again. Push. Push something out. If you're feeling that, if you're feeling like I might pass some gas or something, you're doing it right. If you're not feeling that, then you're not doing it right. And you won't be able to move past this into figuring out how to use it with your voice. So here's the next step. And I'm going to pull my shirt tight so you can see what's happening with my stomach. Now, a lot of times when people breathe, especially before they sing, but even when they're speaking, they'll breathe like this, and then they'll push like this, and then you'll see as they breathe out, that sort of thing happens. That's not really effective singing, and what it does is it puts the emphasis up here. We want to train our minds to think about stuff coming from here and below, here and below. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to push something out our rear end, and then we're going to relax completely. Relax completely. And when I relaxed, my stomach came out. Then we're going to engage. It's hard for me to do while I'm talking, but you'll see what I'm going to do in a second here. We're going to engage those push-out muscles instantaneously, like this. I'm not even making any sound yet. You can see my chest is not moving. My stomach is going in. It's almost like if I keep doing that, I'm going to cough. It's that same sort of reflex. But I do feel air coming up, but I definitely am focused. My mind is focused on obviously not really pushing something out my rear end, but those muscles, those bearing down muscles as if you're pushing something out. And you can even, I don't know if the mic's sensitive enough, but you can even hear things sloshing in my stomach. It's helpful to put your hand on your stomach. I'm going to take you further now. Once you've been able to do this idea where we're doing this fast breath and we're engaging those bearing down muscles instantaneously, we're going to add phonation. We're going to add sound coming from our vocal cords. And it's just as if you were slamming into someone when you were playing football, or you just got hit with something like a big pillow, having a pillow fight. I don't know. Huh, 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 huh. Don't worry about damaging your voice. You're not going to damage your voice, even if you're doing things wrong, as long as you don't do it too long. But if you're engaging your support muscles, you won't damage your voice at all. This is how your body was designed to be used for this kind of activity, for singing, for loud speaking. Ha, 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 ha. Doesn't matter what pitch you're singing. Ha, 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 ha. See my stomach? And I feel it. I feel it in my lower abdominal, like right in here. And I feel it here. And not in my butt muscles per se, but that idea that bearing downness. Ha, 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 ha. Next, once we've got that sensation, so we have our stomach muscles flexed, they're going in with every single thing we do, like that. Next, we're going to do the huh, but we're going to hold after that. So it's going to be like, huh, huh, huh. Now, these are somewhat unconventional exercises that you probably won't see any other vocal coach do exactly the same way, but I'm really trying to help you learn the feel first. So many times when people are starting to sing, or if they've been singing for a while, people go after sound first. We don't want to do that. We want to go after feel first, make sure things feel the way they're supposed to, and then gradually build our sound on top of that. Ha, 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 ha. Now, we don't want to be doing this. It's very important that we're going, huh, that we're starting with that. It's called a soft onset, but we're starting with a bit of an H. That's going to protect our vocal cords a little bit while we're doing this, but it's also going to help us direct our air a little bit better than this sort of than that sort of thing happening. We want it ha 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 ha. Now, when you lock into that tone after the initial ha, you want to remain with all of these muscles engaged. Your stomach flexed, you're pushing something out. Ha ha ha, and let the pitch go down as you push more. Ha! Now, I'm not pushing more. I'm not tightening up my neck. I'm not pushing from anywhere other than bearing down and letting my stomach go in. So it's this idea of going in this way and down, and then letting the result of that push the power up. Now, I encourage you to try what we just did, standing up and then sitting down in an armless chair where you can still maintain good posture. Sometimes, if you have trouble figuring it out standing up, sometimes sitting down helps. Sometimes if you're sitting down and you have trouble figuring it out, sometimes standing up helps. The biggest thing, though, is you want to remain loose everywhere but your lower abdominals and that bearing down and pushing in. You don't want to be tight here. You don't want shoulder tension. So be attentive to that as you're working through what I've just shown you. Now, after you have that down, or as you're starting to get it down, we want to incorporate it into singing as quickly as possible so that we are able to translate those feelings that we get into actual notes. We don't want it to get lost in simply a drill that doesn't involve actual singing. Now, before we do any real notes, I want you to try something. I want you to yawn. I want you to stick your tongue out like that. You're going to be opening up everything. It's going to sound like this. And then, as you're doing that, I want you to try this again. This idea of bearing down and then It's not a pretty sound. But what we're doing is we're forcing ourselves to open up in this area, so we can't possibly be constricting our airflow with our neck. It's so wide open. Not that we're going to sing like that, not that we're going to do that forever, but we want to be aware of that sensation as well. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to ha into a note. Any old note. Ha, 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 ha. Are you bearing down? Are you feeling it around where your tailbone is? Are you feeling the stomach muscles work? Or are you ha, 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 ha? Or are you doing that? Or are you doing ha, ha, ha? You can hear the difference in sound and in power. One is very limiting. Once you've gotten this ha idea down, we're going to hold that note out and we're going to change pitches. We're going to essentially throw our voice, like you heard me doing at the beginning. It's going to sound like this. Ha! Or whatever. It could be, the pitches don't really matter what they are. The point is that you're fluctuating. It could even be like this. Ha! Ha! But when I'm doing that, I am getting that dip from re-engaging to a greater intensity level my stomach muscles and my lower abdominal muscles. I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing like that. Every one of those little dips you hear is a more intensely focused approach down here, not up here. That's what we want to practice. And like a lot of the other videos that I do, I like to put on a track and try this sort of thing in a musical context. Even though I'm not going for any specific pitches, I just want to put something on and make some noise over a track. Like I did at the beginning, but I'm going to do it for a little bit longer. And I'm going to make some noises more like what we've done here to help you see and hear the transition that happens when you're engaging your support muscles. So give this a try and let me know how it goes. And if you want to take it further, again, be sure to join my free vocal course where you get to see me and David Walleman walk through this together. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel. I talk a lot about how to overcome different obstacles with your voice so that you can have the voice you've always wanted. We'll see you for more.
I'm gonna spread a